Hey everyone, I'm Clayfect, and today we are going to dive into the mystery journal of the unseen creatures by Barlow. Now, if you have ever had any type of pet or small child, you might have stumbled upon this phenomenon called the Zoomies. And there is actually a creature that creates the Zoomies. That is, of course, the Zoomer. A very happy and yet also very hyperactive little fella. Feel free to pause and look at the pages some more if you want to. But for me, I just can't wait to get started on sculpting this unseen creature. So without further ado, let's get sculpting. To be totally honest with ya, I have been putting off sculpting this particular unseen creature for a while now. And later on in the video, I am going to tell you why that is. However, I do feel it's important we know what kind of little critter we are sculpting today. So for now, while I continue putting on some clay on our little unseen creature, I am going to leave you to Mr. Barlow and his notes about the Zoomer.
Richard Barlow, log, 19th of November, 1953. The Zoomer. When all my children joined forces and start begging for a dog, both Mary and I knew that it was only a matter of time before we would break under the pressure and get a Harrier most ruling addition to the family. However, I did not expect by welcoming Boom Boom, our now 100-pound Labrador mix, into the family, I would also end up discovering a new unseen creature, the Zoomer. A rodent-like creature that possesses the ability to give animals and apparently small children bursts of energy and excitement.
If the Zoomer is a creature that gives dogs and cats the Zoomies, I definitely have one in my home. However, I do feel for Mr. Barlow. If he has a 100-pound lab mix, being a dog person and owner, I know how much having a big dog can do. Have I ever told you the story about how my golden retriever mix Kaiwa got stuck under the terrace? You know what? I don't think I have. I've told you about how she was sent to the vet because she broke down our greenhouse, but nothing about our terrace. So, here we go. Last year, on a hot summer afternoon, I let Kaiwa out to play in the yard. But when I tried to call her in about 20 minutes later, she was nowhere to be found. Of course, as the overprotective dog mom that I am, I panicked and I went down to the greenhouse. I called on Mr. Clayfect and we started looking and calling for the dog in a frenzy. But no matter how much I called, Kaiwa was nowhere to be found. Mr. Clayfect even started to walk him down the street, trying to see if the dog had gotten out somehow. I went back into the house, but I stopped in my tracks when I got to the terrace. Because there I saw a golden retriever head poke out from under the terrace. The panic wasn't over, however, because she had been digging under the terrace, pressed herself under and had gotten stuck under the damn thing. I tried digging and pulling in that poor dog's head, but there was no way I could get her out. So I screamed in panic for Mr. Clayfect. First he thought I was just hysterical and tried to pull the dog out as well, but she was fairly stuck. So that poor man ended up getting all his tools and had to disassemble half the terrace. Me and Kaiwa were both very relieved when she finally got free, though I have to admit, Kaiwa wasn't a very popular dog in Mr. Clayfect's eyes a while after that. Which is totally unfair because clearly there was a Zoomer involved and Kaiwa simply couldn't help herself. Speaking of the Zoomer, why don't we hear a little bit more from the mystery journal?
To the unknowing eye, these displays of wild energy might seem spontaneous and sporadic. I believe so as well, until I saw the Zoomer and its long tail needles prick Boom Boom, and thereafter Maddie, unleashing a hurricane in our previous so calm home. For most of its life, the Zoomer never stands still or rests. It only sleeps once or twice a year. A healthy Zoomer has almost lightning speed movements, making it very hard to detect. Which is why I have not discovered the Zoomer until now, or have been able to retrieve a sample of the toxic substance from the Zoomer's needles. But from what I gather, due to my observations, the effect of the toxin works very strongly, very fast, and can unleash mayhem anytime and anywhere. How often the toxin is used depends on the Zoomer. Sadly for my peace and my family has gotten a very social Zoomer.
That poor man. However, I guess I can't avert anymore why I postponed this sculpture as long as I did. The short answer to that is fur. A lot of tiny small hairs needed to be textured. But for a little deeper and more in-depth answer, I think I would have to say, me knowing myself, knew that I wouldn't be able to compromise between the vision I had and the execution of the sculpture. And maybe you can help me out with that, because most of the times when I'm making a sculpture, I'm always in a dilemma. Because on one hand, I do know how I want the sculpture, and I know how to make it. But on the other hand, it is so hard and time consuming. So it's almost disheartening and make me lose passion in the middle of the project, like with this one. But at the same time, yet again, I am happy with the end result. And I am happy that I didn't end up compromising. I could have made an easier texture, and that would definitely have helped with my stress level. But then again, would I be happy knowing that I didn't do the very best that I can? I feel like many artists are struggling with just that, but what do you think? What's most important? Is it more important to satisfy your artistic vision? Or is it more important to not burn out and be too stressed? And is there a middle ground I just haven't learned yet? If you have anything to say on the matter, please leave it in a comment down below while we hear a little bit more about the Zoomer.
Adults and older children, however, seems immune to the Zoomer's toxin. Or maybe the Zoomer just don't want to play with us. The Zoomer does seem to be a very happy and playful little creature, whose only purpose is to bring some fun and mischief into the world. I like them even though their extraordinary ability to stay hidden from the world does grow tiresome. Twice now, my wife Mary has screamed about seeing a mouse when she looked straight into the eyes of our Zoomer. It is as if the human brain can comprehend what it's seeing when it finally gets the chance to see a Zoomer. Instead, it produces a picture of a mouse, squirrel, or other type of small rodent. The Zoomer is not the only unseen creature that uses this tactic to stay hidden, but it is the most outgoing one. Zoomers does have a very large territory and will not accept any other Zoomers on their ground, unless it's mating season. And even then, it does seem to be a quick affair, with a lot of spinning and jumping.
Oh my god, I just realized we are halfway through the video and I haven't talked about the sculpting part at all. We can't have that. This is a sculpting channel. This is just so long. My deepest apologies. Here, let me remedy that. I put some clay on amateur sculpting the body. After that, I made the tail with the needles, and then it was on to the texture and the first bake. After the first bake, I made the legs, the arms, the hands, and the feet. Texture and all that. and then put it back into the oven. While that was in the oven, I made some ears out of cosplay, texturing them, and then putting some feathers on top of them. And then we got to work on the head, painting the eyes, placing the ears, making the shape, place it on the neck, and here we are. I can't breathe right now. Please, Mr. Barlow, take it away while I catch my breath.
The Zoomer does not have any real enemies or predators to worry about, and it shows in its nature. It does not really care about us humans, but prefers places with animals. The happier the better. At the start, I thought the Zoomer's wing-like ears were designed to help them gather speed, but it is quite the opposite. It folds its ears out as a type of parachute if it, for some reason, needs to stop or slow down. Not that they make a habit out of it. You haven't really experienced a Zoomer before you have seen a large puppy and a 3-year-old play around in the living room with paint, a broken pillow, an angry tangler, and whatever you thought was dirt, but then realized it was the last of your ground coffee. Never give a Zoomer coffee. And yes, the Zoomer does see coffee as a treat and would like to get their grabby little hands on it.
Oh my god. I know I sound diabolical when I say this, but I would have loved to see that. Just the mental image of it. If you want to know what the tangler is, I have made a video of it and there is a link down in the description below for ya. And if you like what I am doing and enjoy the unseen creatures, please consider like, comment and subscribe. I love this series and I'm not growing tired of it, so I will be here for a while. And I would love for you to join us. Now, let's talk about painting. To my continuous frustration, Mr. Barlow doesn't describe any of the colors, but he does say that we comprehend them as small rodents, which means they would look like a mouse or a squirrel or anything like that. And since I am incredibly tired of the color gray, I decided to go for a squirrel-like Zoomer, which entailed a lot of wet brown washes and dry brushes, though I actually had fun when I painted the needle. Painting the tips in this bright orange color really helped setting this sculpture apart and helped it with this poisoned look. I just love it. But while I'm finishing up the detail work, why don't we hear the rest of what Richard Barlow has to say about the Zoomer?
I theorize that the Zoomer is a long-distance cousin to the Mood Eater. And just like the Mood Eater, I think the possibility of misusing the Zoomer is far too great. Therefore, it must remain hidden for now, though I do feel somewhat sad that other people don't get a chance to experience a Zoomer. But at least many get to experience their pet with a Zoomer. Be it good or bad, Lord knows I'm debating that question myself.
And with that, I think that is it for this sculpture and it for this video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you like our little speedy friend here. I have to say, I think it's one of my favorite unseen creatures. If you have followed me for a while, you know I do have a soft spot for the absurd and the cute. And I have to say, the Zoomer really does fit that description, doesn't it? But at last, guys, unfortunately, it is time for me to sign off. I hope to see you next time, but if you can't wait until next time, why not click on the square to the right, where you're going to see a weird dust herder get made. But until then, as we would say here in Denmark, hold da munter!